Welcome. You're watching Money, 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 and I'm Samira Abdi. It's the start of a new financial year and therefore the best time to avail the maximum benefit from planning your taxes. Joining in to take us through the best way to do so is Hemant Rustagi of Wise Invest Advisors. Hi Hemant, thanks very much for joining in. You know, almost everyone calls it tax planning, but there's very little planning that's involved, when we're investing for tax saving purposes. Now, besides the very obvious that, if my money is in a savings account, I get 4.5% as opposed to deploying it elsewhere, where I could get upwards of 8.5%, and therefore the incentive is to start early and get that 12 months advantage. Besides that, is there any other reason that I should look at investing at the start of a financial year and not at the end?
Well, I think, Sumera, there are a number of benefits. First thing, as you rightly said, if you're keeping the money in the same bank account, thinking that I'm going to invest all my money at the end of the year, obviously you tend to lose a lot. But I think more than that, there are a couple of factors that really impact your overall planning for taxes and as well as investment. One is, it depends. First thing, you need to see where are you investing. Now, for example, if you're investing in, let's say, an equity-oriented option like ALSS, okay, the best thing is, not only that you have to invest for the long term, but it's also, if you follow a disciplined approach, you benefit a lot from averaging. So if you start investing right from April, okay, so even if you don't have a lump sum money at the end of the year, right, you can do SIP of 10,000 or 15,000 or whatever you need to invest every month. So what it does for you is, it doesn't really put a lot of pressure on you at the end of the year. Second, because you're following a disciplined approach, okay, the equity market goes up and down, you benefit from averaging. So I think when you're investing in equity, the benefit is this. Even otherwise, okay, now if you really don't do it at the beginning of the year, you don't know how much money you need to invest. Okay, it's invariably what will happen for the salaried class. They will not have the money to invest at the end of the year. So then you look around, say how I'm going to arrange for this money. Sometimes you end up actually taking out money from an existing investment and put it for tax saving purposes. So I think, and then we've also seen a number of times where you end up investing in an option which does not suit your requirement at all, because you did not plan it, because there is pressure from you, from your office people saying, okay, you need to now invest. So you either buy insurance or you buy something else which does not really suit your requirements. So I think it makes a lot of sense that you plan your investment, especially for the tax purposes, at the beginning of the year, rather than investing haphazardly at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's true actually, and in this way perhaps one can also look at tax planning in a more holistic manner, like for example, should someone also use this time to sort of make a tally of what are their assets, liabilities, what their net worth could look like?
Oh, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. It's not only about planning for your tax investment. We talk about reviewing your portfolio, we talk about reviewing your asset allocation. The problem is, whenever we talk about investment, all of us talk about where should I put my money, how much return will I get. Very rarely you will see someone coming and asking, how do I review my portfolio. But I think reviewing portfolio is as important as investing your money. In fact, it requires a similar discipline and the focus as you require when you invest your money. So what it does is, because it requires a discipline, doing it at the beginning of the financial year makes a lot of sense. Otherwise there's always a temptation. Now, if the equity markets are doing very well, why should I touch my equity assets? Okay, if the debt market is doing well, why should I, come out of that? The advantage of doing at the beginning of the financial year is that there is a discipline. You know exactly what you need to do. And I think many of us know at the beginning of the year how much I need to save for taxes, how much my income is going to be, okay, where I've gone wrong. So I think the important aspect is rebalancing also of your portfolio. Now, we always talk about asset allocation is an important aspect for investment. And why it is important? Because one, it tells you the kind of risk you are taking on your portfolio, and also tells you the kind of return that you can expect from your portfolio. So it's very, very important to look at your asset allocation, and if need be, rebalance it, but it has to be done by following a proper strategy.
Hemant, now the total tax saving that's available is close to about 4.5 lakhs, so which virtually means that someone with a salary of close to 7 lakhs is tax free. What is the opportunity that I have in deploying pretty much everything? If I'm earning 7 lakhs, I'm deploying pretty much everything that I save into tax saving instruments. Is there enough opportunity for me to be giving up a lot of the things that I could have done with that money and putting it into tax saving? Or could I look at perhaps investments which are more lucrative but perhaps not in the tax saving mode?
See, it depends on how you're going to claim the tax assumption. Now, for example, when we talk about tax exemption, you also get tax benefit on the interest that you pay on housing loan, for example, right? You also get benefit on the principal repayment that you give for your housing loan. So it all depends on that, because if you've taken a loan, for example, okay, you have to repay principal, you have to pay interest on that, right? What's happening here is you are getting tax benefit on that. Second part, as we discussed earlier, if you make tax planning, a part of your overall asset allocation, right? What you can do is, where do you normally invest? For example, let's say you may invest in some equity fund through SIP for your, let's say, retirement planning or for children education, right? You can do it through even ELSS. I mean, it's not that ELSS is meant only for tax saving, right? You can begin your process here. Once you complete 3-year period, you can move that money on. So, the way, if you can plan it properly, while you save tax, you're also not compromising on your other investment, which is what is very, very important, because you're not looking at only saving tax, but you're also looking at building your corpus for various other goals.
Okay, so now, besides PPF, which has been recommended on and off by almost everyone, what would remain your tax-saving instrument of choice? Should one look at perhaps the added advantage of the NPS, the extra benefit on the Mediclaim insurance? What would you advise people to look at this year?
Well, yes, I mean, this is typically what happens every year when the budget comes. Okay, this year again we got additional in NPS. Last year we got something on the housing loan and interest. I think that's why it's very, very important to keep an eye on what's happening in the budget. But I think how you benefit from that depends on what kind of investor you are, who you are. Okay, if you're a public sector employee, you get pension. Maybe you don't need to focus too much on that. But if you're a self-employed or working in the private sector, because we don't have any social security, maybe your focus has to be on retirement planning. So I think it clearly depends on who you are and what kind of investor you are and what exactly your goals are. Except retirement, most of the other goals are very similar. Okay, but the major difference comes in the retirement. So in terms of when choosing the instrument, if you're a self-employed, okay, and if you don't have any provident fund, obviously PPF makes a lot of sense. Now, of course, you have other options. You have retirement funds of mutual funds. You also have NPS. Now, each one of these have their pros and cons of investing. If you look at NPS is a pretty good option for someone who is conservative. It also gives you additional benefit of 50,000. But if you're young and you can make your portfolio a little aggressive for building a retirement corpus, I still feel that mutual funds can be a better option. So I think you need to really look at, I mean, you can't really go with the preconceived notion of where I need to put all my money. Like that's what I said earlier. If you make it a part of your asset allocation, you decide whether it should go into debt or it should go into equity, and then you need to look at which are the best options for you.
All right, so on that note, we'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll discuss some more of these options as well as some more strategies which could prove beneficial when you're planning your taxes. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a bit.